The bright lights, the roaring crowd, the UFC octagon. For mixed martial artists around the world, this is the promised land. It's where legends are made and fortunes are won. But behind the glamour lies a difficult truth. The UFC is an organization often accused of unfair treatment of its fighters. From a lack of health insurance to restrictive contracts, the criticisms are loud and persistent. So, why does every aspiring MMA fighter still dream of walking into that octagon? Today, we're diving deep into the UFC paradox. Let's get started. To understand the appeal, we first need to understand the criticisms. The UFC operates with its fighters as independent contractors, not employees. This single distinction is the root of many issues. It means the promotion isn't required to provide benefits like health insurance or retirement plans, which are standard in other major sports leagues. Let's break down the three biggest problems fighters face. No long-term health insurance. Fighters put their bodies on the line every time they step into the cage. While the UFC does cover injuries sustained during fights or official events, it does not offer long-term health insurance for its athletes. This leaves fighters to cover their own medical costs for training injuries or long-term conditions, which can be financially devastating, especially for those at the bottom of the card. Restricted sponsorship earnings. Before 2015, fighters could secure their own sponsors and wear their logos, a crucial source of income. Now, the UFC's exclusive uniform policy means all sponsorship on fight gear goes through the organization, and the money doesn't necessarily trickle down to the athletes. Francis Ngannou revealed he personally lost a sponsorship deal worth over $1 million because it conflicted with a UFC partner. Fighter pay and control. While top stars make millions, the base pay for many fighters is notoriously low. For a significant part of his UFC career, a talented champion like Demetrius Johnson was earning around $14,000 to show and another $14,000 to win. The control extends beyond pay. Contracts include clauses like a one-year matching right, which allows the UFC to block a fighter from joining a competitor even after their deal expires. These issues aren't just theoretical. They've driven some of the sport's biggest names to make a stand. Francis Ngannou, the champion who walked away. As the reigning UFC heavyweight champion, Ngannou was at the peak of his career. Yet, he chose to leave everything behind. Why? He stated publicly that his decision wasn't just about money. It was about freedom, respect, and control over his own destiny. He asked for health insurance for all fighters and the right to have personal sponsors, but these requests were not met. He famously said, "In that contract, I'm not free. I hand over all the power to you." His move to boxing, where he fought Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for huge purses, proved his worth and validated his gamble for freedom. Muhammad Mokaev, the unbeaten fighter who was let go. Mokaev had an undefeated record and was ranked in the top 10 of his division. Despite this, UFC CEO Dana White announced they would not renew his contract, citing behind-the-scenes issues and stating matchmakers weren't fans of his. Mokaev felt his reputation was unfairly tarnished, showing that even performing well isn't always enough to secure a future in the promotion. With all these downsides, what makes the UFC so irresistible? The reasons boil down to three key factors. The global platform and legacy. The UFC is simply the biggest stage in MMA. Fighting there offers unparalleled exposure, making a fighter a globally recognized athlete almost overnight. This platform is the fastest path to building a personal brand and cementing a legacy in the sport. As Mokaev himself admitted, "They put me on the map." The financial ceiling for stars. While the lower tier pay is low, the potential earnings for champions and top draws are astronomical. The UFC can offer multi-million-dollar paydays and pay-per-view points that other promotions often can't match. Demetrius Johnson also highlighted another income stream. Simply being in the UFC video game earned him a check for $25,000, a privilege that comes with being a recognizable UFC athlete. The prestige of the competition. For many fighters, it's not just about the money, it's about testing themselves against the very best in the world. The UFC roster is widely considered the most talented in the sport, and winning a UFC championship is the ultimate validation of a fighter's skill. The table below summarizes this central dilemma: the harsh realities versus the irresistible allure. No long-term health insurance. The world's biggest MMA platform. Restricted sponsorships and lost income. Highest potential earnings for stars. Low base pay for unranked fighters. Prestige of facing the best competition. Limited control over career path. Path to a global legacy and brand. So, is the UFC a fair organization? The evidence suggests the scales are heavily unbalanced. Fighters take on immense physical and financial risk for a shot at glory with limited safety nets. But is it still the goal for every MMA fighter? Absolutely. The UFC has masterfully built a brand that represents the pinnacle of the sport. The potential for fame, fortune, and legacy currently outweighs the systemic flaws for most. The real change will come when fighters, as Nanu did, continue to demand more freedom and fairness, and when alternative promotions grow strong enough to offer a genuine competitive choice. What do you think? Is the dream worth the cost? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.